I witnessed someone I cared about shatter under the weight of always being the hero until he decided to stop bleeding for strangers. What's up, champions? Let me tell you about transformation. There was someone close to me who lived like an open wound, gave without limits, absorbed every betrayal, carried burdens that weren't his to carry. Fast forward 3 years, I barely recognized him, not because he was broken, but because he'd rebuilt himself into something unshakable. His words changed everything for me. The world stayed the same. I became harder to destroy. That realization didn't just belong to him. It belongs to every person listening right now. You exist in 2 states, the version that bends and the version that breaks others first. One version apologizes endlessly, searches for validation, overextends hoping for reciprocity. You stretch yourself thin trying to earn respect that should be automatic. The more you sacrifice, the more invisible you become to those consuming your energy. Then there's the second self, the calculated one, the unbothered one, the presence that withdraws without fanfare or remorse. No debates, no pursuit, no explanations, just removal. You've inhabited the first version too long and it's eroding your foundation. It's made you vulnerable where precision matters most, generous where strategy should reign. Niccolò once observed, "Better to inspire caution than affection when both aren't possible." He wasn't advocating violence. He was describing sovereignty, recognizing when to stop fracturing yourself for spectators. Today I'm revealing how to activate that second self, the calculated you, the armored you, the individual ancient strategists described, the one others sense but never manipulate. 8 transformations separate these identities. Each demands sacrifice. Each will feel like burning who you thought you were, but stay until the conclusion and you'll emerge unrecognizable. You'll stop seeking external tranquility and generate it internally. Before we begin, drop this declaration in the comments. I refuse to shatter again. Number 1. Withdraw from the entitled. Your first evolution toward ruthlessness starts here. Your greatest vulnerability was never your capacity to care. It was selecting who received that care. You've been hemorrhaging vitality into individuals who consume your light but never reflect it back. Kept assisting, excusing, clarifying, believing eventually they'd acknowledge your value. They never will. Why? Because in power dynamics, what's offered freely becomes undervalued automatically. Humans instinctively equate abundance with desperation. When you give effortlessly, they assume you need acceptance. The moment someone detects your need, they own you. That's where weakness originates, not from failing, but from emotional dependency disguised as virtue. The strategist noted, humans harm the beloved quicker than the feared. The entitled exploit your generosity because they don't fear losing it. They know you'll remain, know you'll forgive, know that regardless of mistreatment, you'll rationalize with "they're struggling right now." That's not empathy. That's self-deception. Truth is, people remember consequences, not patience. They respect boundaries, not explanations. The more predictable your mercy, the more invisible you become. Every tolerance of disrespect trained them to view you as replaceable. Every self-justification confirmed you had something to prove. That's the silent mechanism behind why decent people break first. The world doesn't destroy you for being good. It destroys you for confusing goodness with harmlessness. The entitled are psychological predators. They don't attack your body. They weaponize your guilt. They make self-protection feel like betrayal. They transform your compassion into a blade and use it against you. Stop believing you owe loyalty just because you once invested. Your investment is a privilege, not an obligation. Reserve it for those who have earned it through consistent honor. Everyone else should experience the sharpness of your absence. Detachment is defense. Indifference is retribution. The philosopher understood deeply. Men are ungrateful, volatile, deceptive, cowardly, and greedy. He was warning, never empower the entitled because they'll weaponize it against you. You must unlearn the delusion that virtue will protect you. Goodness without enforcement is suicide. Ruthlessness isn't cruelty. It's recalibration. It's refusing to reward betrayal with accessibility. When you stop answering every demand, stop forgiving every deception, stop explaining your withdrawal, the entitled panic, they realize they can't feed on your reactions anymore. That's when power redistributes. You become the selector, who receives your attention, and who dissolves into irrelevance. The world belongs to those who conserve energy like artillery, not those who scatter it like wishes. Every unit of strength poured into wrong people is power stolen from your destiny. Reclaim it, consolidate it, fortify it. Let them wonder where your warmth disappeared. Tell them it evaporated when clarity arrived. Some people deserve your distance more than your devotion. Drop this affirmation: my kindness has boundaries. Number 2, convert suffering into dominance. Suffering is the most honest teacher because it never flatters, doesn't accommodate your ego, doesn't validate excuses. It exposes you, strips pretense, burns everything fragile until only the authentic remains. The difference between the defeated and the dominant isn't the volume of pain endured, it's their response to it. Weak minds drown in agony because they chase fairness. They believe the universe owes them healing. But calculated minds know. Pain is currency. Either invest it building yourself or waste it complaining. Those who rise from devastation aren't fortunate. They're strategic. They examine betrayal, heartbreak, failure, and instead of asking, "Why me?" they ask, "What does this reveal about control?" The strategist said, "Never waste the opportunity a crisis provides." Every moment of suffering is a chance to evolve into someone untouchable. Pain isn't punishment, it's intelligence. It shows exactly where vulnerability lives. Every betrayal identifies who you trusted carelessly. Every rejection exposes where you misplaced worth. Every loss reveals the illusion of permanence. When you view pain through that lens, it stops being a wound and becomes weaponry. You use it to sharpen awareness instead of destroy it. The dark mechanics of transformation lie in transmuting suffering into strategy. Most people cry for relief. The strong reflect for strength. When hurt, they don't pursue closure. They create power. Study adversaries instead of hating them. Analyze mistakes instead of escaping them. Turn every heartbreak into emotional discipline. Every disappointment into focus. That's the essence of strategic resilience, using the world's cruelty as fuel, not chains. Pain is the forge where authority is born. When life fractures you, it reveals who you are without masks. Stop fleeing it. Inhabit it. Feel every degree of fire. Because once you survive your own suffering, no one else can control you through fear. The moment you stop fearing pain, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. When others try manipulating through guilt or rejection, it fails because you've already endured worse and survived. The philosopher believed wisdom learns more from misfortune than comfort. Because pain activates awareness, forces evolution, silences illusion. You start seeing people for reality, not fantasy. Start choosing logic over emotion. The more you endure, the less reactive you become. You move like someone who's walked through fire and emerged. That energy commands respect. People sense it when you enter spaces. The aura of someone who converted every wound into wisdom. You no longer carry scars with shame. You wear them like armor. Your silence becomes heavy, your gaze steady. That's when you know you've crossed from being shaped by pain to shaping others through it. Next time life wounds you, don't curse it, study it. Ask, what advantage hides here? Because every moment of agony carries a seed of dominance if you're calculated enough to extract it. Drop this: my pain builds power. Number 3, eliminate the need for validation. The craving to be understood is the trap keeping powerful minds enslaved to mediocrity. You keep explaining yourself, hoping people will see your intentions, your goodness, your truth. Here's the brutal reality: most don't care to understand you. They only care to categorize you. They don't listen to comprehend. They listen to find leverage. The more you explain, the more ammunition you provide. In dark psychology, understanding equals control. When people know your motives, they know how to manipulate you. That's why the ruthless stay silent. They let others guess, project, assume, and in that confusion they remain untouchable. The strategist noted, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command, and to command you must never over-justify because explaining is defensive. It reveals you still seek approval. Power doesn't justify itself. It simply exists. The most intimidating individuals are those who don't explain why they act, feel, or vanish. Their silence creates tension. That tension creates respect. The weak beg to be seen. The strong choose mystery. Understand this. When you stop defending yourself, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is fear's twin. People can't control what they can't read. That's why rulers, leaders, strategists throughout history mastered ambiguity. They spoke less than they knew and acted more than they explained. You must do the same. Every time you rush to clarify intentions, you surrender the blueprint of your emotions. You're teaching others how to disarm you. The dangerous element of transparency is it invites dissection. And dissection always destroys the magic of power. The philosopher wrote, "The wise act immediately what the fool does eventually." The wise stop justifying early. The fool talks until exposed. You owe no one clarity about your choices, no explanation for your distance, your silence, your standards, or your transformation. Let them misunderstand. Let them assume you've become cold, arrogant, detached. Every false label adds another layer to your armor. The moment you stop correcting them, you regain control, because control lives in restraint. Silence isn't weakness. It's weaponized composure. It makes others nervous, because they can't predict your next move, and uncertainty makes them cautious. That's psychological dominance. Think of the most powerful individuals you've encountered. They weren't loud. They were composed. Their presence commanded attention, not because they shouted, but because they didn't need to. Every word they withheld spoke louder than 1,000 justifications. You must become that kind of presence, a mystery no one fully grasps, a storm that doesn't announce itself. When someone tries provoking you, let your silence suffocate their ego. When someone misjudges you, let them sit in their own assumption. The truth is your weapon. Don't waste it proving innocence. Those who need to understand you don't deserve to. Those who truly value you will never need explanation. Power isn't about convincing others. It's about becoming so self-assured that their confusion no longer matters. Once you stop needing to be understood, you finally begin understanding yourself. Drop this. My silence speaks power. Number 4, detach, never beg. Begging for attention, affection, or closure is how the powerful become enslaved. The more you pursue what's retreating, the smaller you become. In the eyes of those who never intended to value you, detachment isn't coldness, it's control. It's the skill of walking away from anything threatening your self-respect, regardless of how much you wanted it. Most people mistake attachment for loyalty, but they're opposites. Loyalty is strength. Attachment is dependence. The world conditions you to believe fighting for people proves care. But in dark psychology, the one who chases always loses power. The act of begging, whether for time, affection, or attention, broadcasts weakness, and weakness invites exploitation. The strategist wrote, "The one who is not master of himself cannot be master of others." When emotions rule you, you're easy to control. The ruthless detach not because they lack emotion, but because they refuse to be owned by it. When someone pulls away, they don't argue or explain. They observe. When someone disrespects them, they don't plead. They vanish. Silence becomes their sword. Absence becomes their message. In a world built on emotional manipulation, detachment is the ultimate rebellion. It terrifies manipulators because it kills their power source, your reaction. Once you stop reacting, you become unreadable. And when you're unreadable, you become feared. The secret weapon of the powerful isn't rage, it's indifference. Indifference burns colder than hate and lasts longer than love. When people can no longer predict how you'll respond, they lose control over your mind. That's when your energy shifts. You stop being the one who waits and start being the one who decides. The ones who once ignored you start noticing your silence, because silence from a once reactive person is louder than any confrontation. Detachment gives you strange authority, the authority to walk away from chaos. With your peace intact, the philosopher believed control over one's emotions was the foundation of every successful ruler, because those who cannot detach are doomed to be controlled by those who can. He said men are driven by two principal impulses, either by affection or by fear. If you master your attachment, you control both. The ruthless understand that not everyone deserves access, not every emotion deserves expression, and not every relationship deserves revival. You must learn to withdraw energy without announcement, to close doors quietly, and to make your distance feel like punishment. That's psychological warfare. At its most elegant form, the more you detach, the more power you reclaim. You begin realizing that peace isn't found in connection, it's found in control. True strength is when you can care deeply yet walk away the moment they threaten your self-respect. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care correctly, yourself first, because when you stop begging, you stop bleeding. And when you stop bleeding, no one can feed on you again. Drop this. I choose peace over people. Number 5, boundaries are your armor. Boundaries are the invisible walls separating power from chaos. Without them, your life becomes an open field where anyone can enter, take what they want, and leave you depleted. You've been taught saying no is selfish, that setting limits makes you unkind. But in truth, the absence of boundaries is self-betrayal. Every time you tolerate disrespect, every time you forgive without consequence, every time you let people cross lines to keep the peace, you surrender pieces of yourself. Weak individuals confuse tolerance with strength. The ruthless know better. They understand a heart without armor is a target. The strategist wrote, "A prince who is not wise himself cannot be well advised." Meaning, if you cannot guard yourself, no one else will. The world doesn't honor openness. It exploits it. The ones who smile at your kindness today will use your forgiveness tomorrow. That's the nature of unchecked human desire. People always test the limits you refuse to enforce. Boundaries aren't walls to keep others out. They're gates that protect what's sacred inside you. They're not cruelty. They're clarity. And clarity terrifies manipulators because it removes their leverage. In dark psychology, boundaries are weapons of control. The person who enforces them dictates the terms of every relationship. When you calmly say no without guilt, you communicate dominance. When you cut off access after betrayal, you announce that your worth is non-negotiable. The powerful don't argue about respect. They demonstrate it through distance. Forgiveness without consequences is submission. Mercy without structure invites chaos. The moment you stop rewarding bad behavior with your presence, you begin commanding silence from those who once disrespected you. The fearful will call it arrogance. The weak will label it ego, but the wise will recognize it as self-command. The philosopher also said, "He who allows himself to be deceived is deserving of deception." You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. The moment you start protecting your space like a fortress, the parasites vanish, the noise fades, and your peace returns. That's when you finally see who values you genuinely, those who respect your rules instead of resenting them. Boundaries attract quality and repel corruption. They filter the loyal from the opportunistic, the genuine from the manipulative. They make your presence feel earned, not available. To live without boundaries is to live without dignity. To live with them is to command your world with quiet authority. The ruthless know that kindness without defense invites destruction. So they build walls not from fear but from wisdom, because the goal isn't to be liked, it's to be respected. Remember, every boundary you set is a declaration. This is where my peace begins, and those who truly value you will never ask you to lower your armor. They'll stand outside it with honor. Drop this, my boundaries protect me. Number 6. Master the art of silence. Silence is the weapon the powerful use when words lose their value. Most people fear silence because it exposes their lack of control. They talk to fill the air, to prove confidence, to seek validation through noise. But every unnecessary word you speak becomes ammunition for someone else's manipulation. The wise understand that in a world addicted to talking, silence is dominance. The strategist wrote, "Never reveal all your thoughts. It makes you predictable and vulnerable." The moment people can read your emotions, they can calculate your reactions, and the one who can predict you can control you. Silence makes you unreadable. It builds an atmosphere of mystery that forces others to second-guess themselves. The quiet individual in the room always holds more power than the one shouting for attention. In dark psychology, silence isn't emptiness. It's strategy. It shifts the balance of control without confrontation. When you say nothing, you let others reveal everything. They expose their insecurities, motives, and weaknesses while trying to understand you. The ruthless use this to their advantage. They listen more than they speak, observe more than they explain, act more than they promise. The weak rush to prove their point. The strong wait for the perfect moment to strike. Every pause you hold in a conversation increases your authority. Every time you let others fill the silence, they unknowingly surrender information. The philosopher believed that power thrives in perception. The less people know about your intentions, the more they fear them. Silence creates psychological tension. It makes others project their fears onto you. They start wondering what you're thinking, what you might do next, and that uncertainty gives you invisible control. This is why silence isn't absence. It's presence magnified. You don't need to shout to be heard. Your restraint speaks louder than chaos. The loudest person rarely holds power, they crave it, but the silent one already possesses it. The rulers of history understood this truth. The less you reveal, the more they imagine. The more they imagine, the more they obey. You must learn to weaponize your calm, to use silence as your language. When someone insults you, stay silent and watch them unravel in their own guilt. When someone provokes you, give no reaction and let their desperation expose them. Your silence will echo louder than any argument. People expect noise, they fear stillness. In stillness lies control. The philosopher said, "The wise act immediately what the fool does eventually." The fool defends himself with words. The wise guard himself with quiet. The moment you stop explaining, you shift from emotional to strategic. You stop playing defense and start commanding the game. Power doesn't beg to be understood. It demands to be felt. Silence makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability breeds respect. When you learn to hold your tongue, you learn to hold your power. And in a world where everyone wants to be heard, the one who masters silence becomes impossible to defeat. Drop this. My silence controls chaos. Number 7. Never show complete loyalty. Loyalty is a weapon only when it's selective. The moment you give it blindly, it becomes your cage. The strategist warned that men are ungrateful, fickle, and deceitful, so to expect pure loyalty is to invite betrayal. Power belongs to those who know when to align and when to withdraw. The world isn't moved by goodness. It's moved by strategy. When you show absolute loyalty to anyone, a friend, a mentor, or a leader, you surrender your independence. They start viewing your devotion as weakness, not virtue. The loyal are predictable, and predictability is death in the game of power. Dark psychology teaches that loyalty must be a calculated act, never an emotional one. True strategic loyalty is conditional. It serves your growth, your protection, your rise. Once it stops serving those, it must be reevaluated. Most people remain loyal out of fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of being labeled untrustworthy. Fear of losing approval. But these are the same people who end up discarded, betrayed, or replaced when they're no longer useful. The powerful never attach themselves to the person. They attach to the opportunity. They know alliances shift like tides. They don't resist it, they ride it. Your loyalty should be a mask, not your identity. You wear it when it benefits you, and you remove it when it becomes a liability. This isn't cruelty, it's realism. The world rewards those who think, not those who feel. The strategist wrote, "A wise man ought never to make himself depend wholly on one thing or one person." Dependence kills autonomy, and autonomy is the root of dominance. Never reveal where your true allegiance lies. Let people believe you're on their side but remain free internally. The illusion of loyalty is far more powerful than loyalty itself. It keeps others comfortable while keeping you untouchable. In politics, business, and personal life, this is how empires are built. Kings fall because they trust too deeply. Subordinates are eliminated because they serve too faithfully. Friends turn enemies because they expect equality where hierarchy rules. When you are too loyal, people stop respecting you. They test your boundaries. They exploit your devotion, and they stop fearing your withdrawal. Fear maintains order. When people know you can walk away without hesitation, they treat your loyalty as a privilege, not a guarantee. That's how you command respect. You must learn to give loyalty like a sword, sharp, deliberate. And only when it cuts in your favor. Never give it like a gift. Gifts are forgotten. Weapons are remembered. This mindset makes you unpredictable, which is the ultimate psychological advantage. They can't manipulate someone they can't define, and that's the essence of strategic power. To remain a mystery in plain sight, loyal in appearance, sovereign in reality. The modern world will call this cold or heartless, but those are the words of the powerless, the same ones who worship those who betrayed them. Remember this truth: loyalty without strategy is self-betrayal. You owe nothing to anyone who would not bleed for your survival. Your allegiance must always belong to your purpose, not to the people who come and go along the way. Number 8. Become untouchable. Becoming untouchable is the ultimate evolution of power. It's the point where no insult, betrayal, or manipulation can pierce your armor. This state isn't about cruelty or arrogance. It's about complete sovereignty over yourself. The world will always throw chaos at you. People will always test your patience, and circumstances will never bend to your desires. The weak break, the fearful react, the unprepared crumble, but the untouchable, they move like a shadow over the battlefield, unaffected, unshaken, unowned. The strategist wrote, "He who is wise will be master of himself, for he who is mastered by others is never free." True freedom comes from inner mastery. To become untouchable, you must stop chasing affection, approval, and validation. These are illusions, traps that keep you tethered to other people's whims. The world does not reward kindness, nor does it honor virtue. It respects power, self-possession, and relentless clarity. When you stop relying on others to feed your ego, you start reclaiming your energy. That energy becomes a fortress, shielding you from manipulation, deceit, and distraction. The untouchable build themselves deliberately. They invest in skills, discipline, and strategy rather than approval. They cultivate patience, presence, and quiet confidence. Their reputation isn't earned by noise, but by consistency and invisible authority. Dark psychology reveals that people fear what they cannot control. Once you detach from expectation, from reaction, from the need to be understood or loved, you become a psychological enigma. No one can predict your moves. No one can pull strings on your mind. You've removed the levers. The untouchable do not act from emotion. They act from strategy. Anger is measured, fear is irrelevant, and desire is disciplined. Every reaction is intentional. Every silence is meaningful. You become the axis around which chaos spins. Unmoved by the storms that collapse others, the philosopher said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Being feared isn't about terror. It's about presence, control, and the awareness that crossing you has a cost. Untouchability is the ability to make people hesitate. before testing you. It's the quiet declaration that you are no longer accessible for exploitation. No betrayal, no insult, no manipulation. Nothing can unsettle you because you are complete within yourself. You're no longer a reflection of others' opinions. You are the sum of your own strategy and willpower. To reach this stage, you must shed the last remnants of dependence, the need to justify, the need to forgive, the need to be recognized. You must rise above attachment, resentment, and longing. The untouchable do not flinch because they understand the impermanence of external validation. They are anchored to themselves, and that anchor cannot be uprooted by circumstance. When you reach this level, power becomes effortless. People sense it instinctively. They either respect it or fear it, but they cannot ignore it. You're no longer a participant in the manipulations of others. You are the standard by which influence and control are measured. You move through the world untouchable because you have mastered the only thing that ever mattered, yourself. Drop this, nothing can break me. Conclusion: the world will try to break you. It will test your patience, betray your trust, and punish your kindness. It will show you that fairness is a myth, that people are unpredictable, and that the only thing you can truly rely on is yourself. For too long, you've allowed others to dictate your peace. You've given your energy to the unworthy, begged for understanding, and let attachment chain you to disappointment. But that ends today. You now have the blueprint to become someone no one can manipulate, no one can exploit, no one can touch. You've learned to withdraw from the entitled. You've converted suffering into dominance. You've eliminated the need for validation, detached from what drains you, and fortified yourself with unbreakable boundaries. You've mastered silence, commanded respect through calm, wielded loyalty strategically, and evolved into someone untouchable. None of this is luck. None of it is easy, but every step you take in this direction strips the world of its leverage over you. The philosopher said, "The wise act immediately what the fool does eventually." Today you are choosing wisdom. You are choosing control. You are choosing ruthlessness in the most disciplined, silent, and powerful sense. This is the version of you that the world cannot bend, cannot manipulate, and cannot break. The road ahead will not be simple. There will be challenges, but every trial now becomes a tool. Every betrayal becomes a lesson. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to demonstrate that you are no longer available for exploitation. The untouchable are forged in fire, sharpened by strategy, and protected by self-mastery. Stand firm in this truth. Walk through life with clarity and composure. Become the person who moves without apology, who commands without announcement, who rises without permission. And as you take this path, remember, the world will notice the difference, but only after you are untouchable. If you found value in this guide, make sure to hit the like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Winds of Thought for more strategies that make you stronger, smarter, and impossible to break. You are no longer the version that bends. You are the version that rules. Drop this final affirmation: I am untouchable now.